Hi, and welcome back to our next episode of the Leading Wellbeing podcast series from the Check-In podcast, where we're talking to community builders, leaders about the importance of total well-being at work, at home, and at school. Today's guest is Ms. Tanya Andersen. Tanya, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tanya, tell the people who are watching, listening, a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I was a high school teacher from approximately 2001 to 2023. I taught mostly history and the social sciences. And in 2023, I took a step away from full-time in the classroom. And in 2024, I began teaching pre-service education students, so first year of Teachers College, and I'm teaching them how to teach history. So that's been really a lot of fun. And so, yeah, I do have a big love of teaching and students of all ages.
Nice. So first question is, what does well-being at school mean to you personally?
Personally, well-being at school means that everybody is feeling it. So that staff are feeling well-being, students are feeling well-being, and that the relationships amongst staff and then amongst students and then between staff and students is honest and helpful and understanding and respectful. And I think too, it needs to be a place where we can ask for help and we're not afraid to ask for help, and that when we do ask for help, that request is taken seriously and sort of met to the best of everyone's abilities.
Yeah, and do you remember something big or small in your experience that really supported mental well-being with staff and students where you've previously worked?
Yes, I would say it was finding a group of people who you could really trust. And for me, I'm thinking of one particular school actually where I taught, and the school was smaller, and I think smaller schools are really good for mental health because people get to know each other and trust each other. So the staff trusted each other and the students trusted each other. I was actually in awe of the students at that school because I felt like they really were brave in what they, I remember being a teenager and sort of finding it like being really reluctant to be myself. But I found that the students at this school the vast majority of them really were comfortable with being themselves and taking risks and that type of thing. So I guess the main thing that we have to create is safety. So safety to take risks, safety to fail, and then try again. And I think you do that with the trust, and you do that by knowing each other. So by knowing we were a tight-knit staff, the students were pretty tight-knit, and I would say that the staff and students had a really good relationship, and the parents, the community was very supportive, and you just build that community that trusts each other, knows each other, and supports each other, and then you find that there's a less of a chance of people sort of falling through the cracks or through that safety net, because you can build it quite well with all that kind of support.
Yeah, definitely easier to manage smaller teams for sure. Mm-hmm. What was one challenge that you faced in supporting well-being, either for yourself, your students, your colleagues?
I would say, if I could sum it up in a word, it would be pretending. So people would pretend that they were okay. People would pretend that if we just followed this policy, or if we just that the fixes were going to be easier than they were, because we're teaching humans, not curriculum. And we're dealing with each other as humans, not some sort of monolith. So I found that, getting past the pretending that I'm okay, or I can do this all myself, or if I can just get to Christmas break, or if I can just get to June. And same with the students. I remember once doing this little exercise with my class called "I Wish My Teacher Knew." So I said, okay, take some paper, and then the sentence stem is "I wish my teacher knew," and then tell me, and then don't put your name on it, and then put it in this box, and I'll look at it later. And they were so honest, but they were in grade 12, so they were good at playing school. And so they were pretending that they had it all together. And when I got when I started reading it, there was a lot of, oh, we need more time, we're stressed out. And I thought, oh, they don't look stressed out. And I thought, oh, I'm stressed out with and we were all both stressed out about the same thing. And I was like, oh, well, we can just delay this. I'll give them a week. I won't have to mark it. They don't have to do it. But if we were both pretending that we were, because we were trying to meet benchmarks and all that stuff, instead of just remembering, hey, we're human, and sometimes, the benchmarks don't work for us. So
oh boy. I was just at I volunteer. I've done it a couple of times now, where we go into high schools,
mm-hmm.
and it's a career path through a company called Hayek. And
Mm-hmm.
so the students come, they sit at your table, and they rotate tables, and they get to talk to you about what industry you're in, and,
mm-hmm.
and so forth and so on. And in one of those conversations, I was sitting with the table, and it happened to be all girls at that time. And they said, I wish my teacher knew more about me. And just the sincerity of it, it was grade 10s, and to be able to express that sincerity, that really got to me. And it's like, okay, like I hear that, and it's not, teachers, I have all the respect in the world for. Their jobs are harder than I think they've ever been. So it's where, another interview I did, I was told, the teachers, they teach subject matter, but regarding like mental health and mental health support of their students, it might be a 1-day or a 2-day course that they took, or, a guest speaking kind of thing. We can't expect teachers to also be counselors and therapists, but providing training to at least kind of triage students, and to give really good advice as to, hey, try this or look at this kind of thing. So in that, how do you like, we've talked about the students and your colleagues, but how does Tanya recharge your batteries?
Oh, well, I got to be honest, I was very bad at it, and that's why I stepped away early. But I did learn that, rest isn't, it sounds cliche, but rest isn't something that you earn. And so if I were to do it all over again, I would have better boundaries. Definitely. That's the first thing. And I tell my teacher candidates that about boundaries. There's a lot you can do, but maybe there's not a lot you should do. But yeah, it's difficult because it's a caring profession. And so, they kept me up at night, and not on purpose or anything, but I was up worrying about other people's children. Right. Which I can't turn off anyway, but I would have asked for help. I think I waited too long to ask for help. Like right to the bitter end. I was like, I can do it. If I just do this, if I just do that, I would ask for help. Because I was pretending. Yeah, there's the pretending, right? I was pretending I was okay. I was pretending, I think even to myself, I was pretending I could do it all without help. And so I would say, so now I definitely rest, and I walk, and I journal, and it's actually like the simplest thing was just, I checked in with myself. I was just go. And if you don't stop, then you don't look at. So, and even just feeling in your body, like, hey, oh, that hurts. I wonder why that is. Or, hey, this isn't feeling, wow, I'm breathing a lot. Or, hey, my shoulders are up here. Like just that kind of stuff. Just checking in with yourself, and then realizing, okay, now it's time to step away for a bit. And again, they tell us stuff like you can't pour from an empty cup. But again, you actually have to, sort of hear it, listen, and embody it. So
yeah,
do stuff for yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know it's easy on a car. On a car, you have the check engine
Yeah,
light,
yeah.
right? And it's like, what's our check engine light? And oftentimes it's, those subtle little pains all of a sudden,
Hmm.
or whatever it may be. But
Hmm.
we always kind of hold back on actually checking it, or
Hmm.
going to get it checked,
Yeah.
right? But there's definitely signs. So if you could offer a piece of advice to fellow educators in kind of creating a safe, total well-being space, what would you offer as advice?
Um, do you mean in their classroom or in school or for themselves or?
Whichever one you feel like you want to answer.
Oh, okay. I would say, and actually I think if you are as authentic as you can be, I think that will actually help you in all of those ways. So I found that the longer I taught, the less I actually put policy first. I'm like, no, I'm teaching the kids who are in front of me, not some mythical student that, that the policy was written for or what have you, right? I had a mentor who talked about, Tanya, we are not running a ketchup factory here. Like we're not, these aren't standard bottles. Like we have to, you have to teach the kids who are in front of you. And so I think like sometimes you have to realize that like you're a professional, you were trained for this, what's going on in your classroom. So you can, make decisions like, what, today, we're not feeling it, so we're going to do something else. And that's okay. That's okay. You're not falling behind. If they aren't, you're not teaching if they aren't learning, and they're not learning if they're not ready, right? So things like that, just trusting yourself, trusting your gut, going with your emotions, and that helps with, like, you have to be in touch with yourself as well. So I would say definitely being a reflective practitioner, and then also being a reflective human. So, why am I feeling this way? Is it something that I did? Is it something that, maybe I'm being asked to do that doesn't sit right with me? Or, and then go with, yeah, again, with embodying, like go with your gut, listen to your body more. And I think in every way. And then, yeah, just base your decisions on humanity. Like, how would you want, if that was your kid in front of you, how would you want their teacher to treat them? Would you want them to believe, would you want them to be believed? Would you want them to be supported? Does it matter that we're not going to get to the War of 1812 today? We can get to it tomorrow, right? That kind of thing. So I would say, yeah. And when I made those types of decisions, I felt better. Like I could feel myself exhale, because I thought, yeah, you know what? That's all, that policy is wonderful, or this bit of curriculum is great, but the kids in front of me are who I, need to deal with. And my reaction here, or my decision, is what I have to live with, not whoever wrote that policy or what have. They're not here. I'm here. They're here.
Gotcha.
That kind of thing.
And with your colleagues,
Mhm.
like we mentioned earlier, smaller teams and
Yeah.
so forth. In high school, is it practical to, like, all the grade 10 teachers kind of have a support team, and all the grade 11s? Is that something, or?
Not necessarily by grade, but by subject matter. It often
Oh, okay.
would be. So at my first school, it was our office, and our office just happened to be social science and math, which was kind of interesting. But they were very supportive colleagues, because people who go into education for the most part are pretty supportive people, just generally. And I found that, yeah, they helped me with all these. I was a brand new teacher, and they gave me ideas and resources, and this is how you work this program and what have you. At my second school, which was a much smaller school, our departments were smaller. So we did have our own office for social science, but we also hung out a lot with the English office. I just went to the cottage with those are still my friends. Like we became, friends,
Yeah.
not just colleagues. And very supportive, working together, doing cross-curricular things. Like we felt safe with each other to try stuff and watch it crash and burn. We were in and out of each other's classrooms. Like, the English would start a book and they'd want me to come give, the history background to like 1984 or something. And we did a lot of that just sort of, again, it wasn't policy. That was just, we thought it was good. So we did it. We arranged it with each other. And yeah, it was very, very supportive. That was, again, just like the students, when it's a smaller organization. I mean, I think you can get it in big organizations too. It's just much more difficult, I would say. But we just felt really safe with it. We trusted each other, safe with each other. We weren't, they weren't gonna, sort of judge me for the ridiculous mistake I made, or, when the kids went running through the hallway, like, no, we don't want to do this, or, that kind of thing. And then they were like, oh, we would come up with even bigger things because, oh, you're doing this in history. Well, we should do this in English and we can support each other and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think it's just trying to create really safe, brave spaces where you can try things out. And, even the students I could see them, rolling their eyes. They'd be like, I'd come rolling in. I've had a great idea. And they'd be like, oh no, what now? But then they would always do it and like amaze me. So yeah, that kind of relationships. Yeah, it's all relationships, I would say.
So on that then, because that's a great segue to the last question here, is what gives you hope for the future of creating like well-being at school for teachers and students alike?
Well, I love that they're talking about it. I think especially at my first two schools, wasn't the school per se, it was just the time, I would say. We weren't talking about it as much. Maybe in my second school, we started to talk a little bit more about it, but the fact that it's that well-being is very front and center, and that we should be taking it into account. And then I think too, for some people, maybe, especially maybe newer teachers who are kind of more going by the book because that's feels safe to them. This, the fact that we're talking about well-being and that it's an initiative and it's a priority of, the Ministry of Education and school boards and stuff, will give them the sort of, I guess, bravery or courage to be able to do it, do things in their class in the name of well-being. And also they're coming out of teachers college with this as a priority, whereas I didn't, right? So I was learning on the job. They're getting pre-service information about and training about well-being and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Awesome. I just think, I go back to, and we're in a similar age bracket here, and I don't think the word feelings ever was mentioned growing up in elementary or high school for me. Like, so talking is absolutely the first thing, and making conversations like this open doors to conversation, because then you're just gonna smash those stigmas that hold people back from talking. And sometimes it's just talking.
Yeah.
Right. Like nothing has to be fixed right then and there, but an emotional dump, so to speak, kind of starts the conversation. And hard things are hard until they're not.
Yeah. And that circles back to what that student was telling you about. I wish my teacher knew me.
Yeah.
Like you can see, this is where you take time out. The curriculum is crowded. You're never going to get through it regardless. Like even if you taught all day for 76 minutes, you're not going to get through all the curriculum. There are no curriculum police, so you don't have to worry about it. And it just make the space or take the space or when you need it in the name of well-being. And you actually, the more you know your students, the more they learn from you. So it actually is an investment in, if you want to look at it that way, in them understanding physics or understanding chemistry, because they're not going to learn from people they don't like. And and if you know them and they know you, there's a better chance that they'll like you and you'll like them, right? Well,
perfect. Yeah. That is a great way to finish off this interview, is get your students to like you and like them in return, kind of thing. So I love that. Tanya, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time, and all the best to you and the family moving forward.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I had a great time.